Wokeness is terrible.
And I looked at all the feet on the curb, and I heard people say, "Get off of it." And I sensed George Floyd say, "Why isn't anybody helping me?" And I laid there.
But let's talk about it here on All Things Theology. Cue my theme music.
All things theology, all things theology. We chop it up properly without an apology. Gotta give that theology to God, hallowed be, cause this is how we do it at All Things Theology.
Yo, grace and peace. Welcome back to an episode of All Things Theology, where this is your host K-Dub. Today, I want to talk about woke politics, George Floyd, and man, all this pandering going on, right? This has been like George Floyd died like 4 years ago, something of that nature, 4 or 5 years ago at this point. They're doing all kinds of anniversaries. I've seen people having like literal crosses on George Floyd, talking about thank you for your sacrifice as if he's Jesus or something. Let me give my position at the outset so people don't try to read into my what I'm saying. I think it was a tragedy on both sides. I think both sides had some errors. I mean, you can look at the police, see some errors. You can clearly look at George Floyd, see some errors. I mean, the other police. I mean, there's wrong on multiple sides on this issue. But I do not like when the church takes social issues to pander to a particular narrative, right? And preach that from the pulpit. And right, we all supposed to be caring about some standpoint epistemology and BLM right now because of this going on. Well, let's get into our clip so you can see exactly what I'm talking about.
Right here on this platform, this past week at our Victory Church staff meeting, we had some of our staff members on this platform, and we asked them what was going on in their mind from their perspective about the world around us. And one of our executive pastors, his name's Olin Hawley, had something profound and prophetic to share. And as we start this conversation,
now I want you to listen to this because apparently it's supposed to be profound and prophetic. I want you to listen to this outright silliness. I mean, man, the way some of black people talk about us, black people, it make us seem like we're just so weak and we ain't getting a by massa. We can't get along unless the white man help us out. And of course, you got the white pastor to, hey, he's like, I can't talk about these issues, so I got to let the black guy do it, right? Standpoint epistemology, right? Because they bought in totally into critical race theory and all this kind of stuff. But let's keep going.
We want to start with what he had to share.
I woke up Thursday morning. My wife gets up early to go out and run and exercise, and I was there in the bed by myself around 5:30 in the morning. And
so let's listen to this story, right? Because a lot of critical race theory narrative is rooted in the stories, right? You got heartfelt stories, right? Because that's what gets people. But I want you to critically examine what's being said.
So I'm laying in the bed, and I wake up with this soreness on the right side of my neck. Now, I've had a stiff neck before when you sleep wrong, but this was different. And I'm like, Lord, what's up with this? And I didn't, I don't think I slept wrong. And so I just went into my Bible study for that morning. And in my study that morning, I came across a scripture I'd never seen before in Hebrews, the 13th chapter. And
so he's never read this verse as a pastor for numerous years. I found this actually one of the more strange parts in the video, but okay, he never read this verse. Okay.
Let me just say something, staff. I didn't know how this was going to flow today, and I just asked. I asked our graphics guy. I just put this verse. I said, "Hey, just take this. I don't know if it's going to come up or not, but just take it." And so I don't want you to think that I have all this stuff figured out, but the verse that I read when I was in my quiet time was, "Remember also those being mistreated, as if you felt their pain in your own bodies." So I'm waking up with this,
I guess a fuller verse. I don't know if this is, he's giving half of it. I don't know, but I guess a fuller verse is, remember those who are in prison, as though in prison with them, and those who are mistreated, since you also are in the body. Now, I'm not aware of George Floyd being a Christian. I know some people have tried to make him one, but because he said things like God is good or some kind of reductionistic Christian view. But this is clearly addressing those in the body, not some tragedy. Even if you want to call it a tragedy, I mean, okay, not some tragic event that happens culturally in the world. So I mean, even starting off from the jump, he's not applying this verse according to its context. But okay, let's see what he has to say though.
Pain in my neck, and I'm like, oh my goodness. And the moment I read that verse, it was like the pictures that we've all seen with the iPhone of the officer on George Floyd's neck. I see that vision right there. But then it changed. And it was like something you'd see in the movie Inception or The Matrix. The camera angle went from here and it swung around. And now I'm looking at it from George Floyd's view. And I'm on the ground. And I'm looking at these feet standing on a curb. And I'm just hearing all the things that we heard on that video. Get off of him. He can't breathe. And so I'm in the bed with that vision. And I'm like, Lord, I just can't imagine how that felt. I can't imagine what was going on through George Floyd's mind. I can't imagine that. And then I sensed the Lord say something to me. And I'm not going to tell, I have to show you what he told me. I can't just say it. So hang on just for a second. The Lord says.
So I want you, before we get to it, the Lord is speaking to Pastor Odin. I think that was his name. Or Ollie. Forgive me if I got his name. I'll get it right in the description. But apparently God told him to do this. This is going to be quite strange. Quite strange.
Said something to me in that moment that was very interesting. And let me tell you again, with the emotions I just described to you, Ahmaud Arbery, watching Just Mercy, seeing George Floyd, I'm thinking, okay, I'm kind of hyper emotional right now, so I'm not sure if this is God or what. I don't know what's going on. So I get up out of the bed and I'm going to get dressed and get ready to get on a Zoom call in the morning. And I get in the bathroom and I turn on the light. I'm standing in front of the mirror. And here's what I saw when I was looking in the mirror. If some of y'all remember this is what George Floyd was wearing when he was killed. Now, when I go to bed at night, I have a drawer full of t-shirts. And I don't care, I just pull a t-shirt out. So I'm standing in front of the mirror, and when I see myself in the mirror, I don't see myself. I'm seeing George Floyd. And at that point, I felt like, now I'm not trying to be emotional. What the Lord said to me when I said, God, I can't imagine that. What God said, I don't want you to imagine it. I want you to feel it. So I sensed the Lord saying, here's why I was pushing back. I sensed the Lord saying, go into your garage. Lay face down next to your car. Because if you remember, he was laid face down right next to that police cruiser. So I walked out into my garage. And the moment I closed the door behind me, I'm thinking I'm just going to be obedient. God, I closed the door behind me and then I just start weeping. And I sensed the Lord tell me just to lie down like he did. And to look. And I looked at all the feet on the curb, and I heard people say, "Get off of it." And I sensed George Floyd say, "Why isn't anybody helping me?" And I laid there just for a few minutes. And my neck is hurting right now without somebody putting their knee in my neck.
All right, I played enough. I gotta stop at some kind of commentary because he wakes up with this neck pain and like the Lord is letting him feel a George Floyd experience. He senses the Lord tell him to go in the garage and lay by your car, right? You got the emotional background in the music, right? So it's supposed to be an emotional period, right? He's weeping, he's snotty boo-boo nose crying, right? And get down and lay down. And I'm going to kind of import George Floyd into you. So you see the crowd, the officer kneeling on your neck with his knee, which is wrong, by the way. You're just crying out, why won't y'all help me? Right? Things that didn't happen for $1,000. And by the way, okay, let's say you go with the officers are the most terrible people in the world, right? This is the most horrific incident that's ever happened in America. There's actually nothing you can do to put yourself in those shoes. I mean, I would kind of be belittled if I was George Floyd's family. Like, you think you felt a glimpse of what he felt? I mean, I can't imagine thinking this is kind of doing some kind of Hebrews 13:3. I don't know. Just seems like some very strong virtue signaling going on right here.
And so I sat down. And I said, "Lord, what's all that about?" As you were asking that question, Lord, what's all that about?
Yeah, what is that about?
And what I sense the Lord saying to me is that people are talking about the politics and the policies, what the police did, but they're forgetting about the person of George Floyd. What did he feel in that moment?
I mean, I would argue quite a multiple issues. Probably pain in the neck, anxiety just from being very chaotic. I'm sure there was a multiple emotions. Hey, we got to talk about it. On drugs. So I'm sure there was a multitude of emotions that was felt by George Floyd and even the police officers. But what does this have to do with anything? How is that relatable to Hebrews 13:3? There wasn't a real biblical justification for what just happened or what we just saw.
I want people to miss the person that experienced this. And then it came back to this same verse that I had on the screen. Remember those if you felt the pain in your own bodies.
Nothing to do with that.
We all process differently. I don't know how you.
And yeah, it says remember, not try to recreate this scene, right? For whatever effect you're trying to go for. Remember it. You don't have to literally get down and do it, right? That's absurd.
Have to process this. And this wasn't something that I had figured out and planned to do, except for the fact that I felt you had to see what I experienced versus me just telling you. What I also sense that God's saying to me is that in moments like this, if you don't have a personal connection to what's going on, then you can't have a personal conviction to do something about it. So my prayer is that me just simply sharing what my experience was, I don't know, I think all of us have an experience. I pray that creates the kind of connection in your life that results in a conviction that things cannot stay the same.
So you even notice they got the MLK back there, right? I mean, this church, you can tell this church is probably super woke. Super, super woke.
You know, as we watched that, I told Olin this afterwards. I said, I've heard some of my friends say that when Ahmaud Arbery was murdered and George Floyd was murdered, I felt like it was an attack on me, but I had never seen it until that moment. I'm just saying, as a white man, I'd never seen it. And I know each one of you sit in a unique place, even in society.
I think that's Lecrae. Okay. That tells me a lot too about this church. But wow, right? You don't need none of that to actually feel bad for somebody or to agree or disagree. You don't need some experience to make a connection. But here's what I actually am offended as a black man, and I don't put my black Christian. I don't put my emphasis on my ethnicity. It is meaningless when it comes to the faith, the gospel. It is absolutely meaningless. But you always see this when a black person dies. You see this amount of pandering and virtue signaling going around, right? Because you got to connect to the black man, because black people are viewed as oppressed. See, in critical race theory, all black people are oppressed, right? Because it's class, it's classes, right? It is as some called it, some cultural Marxism, right? By the way, I encourage you to listen to Vodi Bakum on this issue, but it's never done in reverse. It's not Hebrews 13:3 when a white man dies in a very similar way. Oh, you say, K-Dub, that's never happened before. Yes, it has. Right here in Dallas, Texas. Tony Timpa. Yes, it does happen. It happens all the time. No one shed a tear. Tony Timpa wasn't used in church. Matter of fact, go look his name up. Tony Timpa. It was before George Floyd. Nobody shed a tear and had Tony Timpa's image on crosses and in churches to pander for social justice. Why? Because he wasn't the right skin tone. But if you're the right skin tone, we can do all this stuff, because that's the oppressed. See, that's what I hate about this stuff. It actually divides more than it actually unifies, right? Because you're supposed to feel bad as a black person, but a white person, move along. Hey, you just move along with your life as a white person, right? This is why I hate this. This stuff actually divides more than it unifies. This is the gospel of George Floyd. And I've seen so much blasphemy surrounding this issue. Yes, I would view the same thing for all the woke black people. You're just an Uncle Tom. I think it's disgusting when it's done for any ethnicity. I think a lot of the Trump worship is disgusting and blasphemous and idolatrous. See, I'm being consistent here. So yes, when you have pictures of George Floyd on crosses talking about he gave his life for us, yes, I am offended by that as a black man, and more importantly, as a Christian. And so should us all. This stuff needs to stay out of churches. This is woke cultural pandering going on to get us to feel away. So when you see a black person in your church, you give them that double take, like, this stuff actually makes me feel awkward in church. Why? Because you got people paying attention to you for the mere color of your skin, rather than who you are as a person, rather than what you contribute to that church. I don't care what somebody looks like when they come in my church. I want to know who you are. Have you come to Christ? Oh, brother, you have gifts, right? Let's fellowship. I got close friends that are black, close friends that are white. And not once do I think, man, I don't think in these categories of, their ethnic group. Now, of course, I don't miss it, right? I'm not saying be colorblind in the sense that you don't recognize who they are, but we're colorblind in how we treat them. Notice the difference. We recognize God's design and beauty in creating multiplicity of ethnicities. But as far as we treat them, they're all the same. Nobody gets above each other in how we treat them. Oh, I want to treat my black brother better because we're oppressed. Stop with the nonsense. Sorry, getting on my soapbox. We could talk a lot about this issue because I don't like how this conversation often happens. Go look, next police shooting, next someone deems something racist, right? Notice all the stuff that happens in the black community, how upset they get. But meanwhile, there's numerous black people killing black people. And it's not the same energy across the board. We got, again, pardon the pun, you got to police your own, right? Because that's actually the one major problem. Again, I know they're going to call me Uncle Tom, Coon. I don't care. Spin facts. What you got to refute it, right? What is it actually profiting you? Right. And again, like I said, I hate this type of pandering. I've been in churches where they kind of made me feel like I was, you feel awkward as a black person walking into churches like this because you got all the white people staring at you just because you're black. And you almost feel like they're looking at you like, man, slavery was hard, wasn't it, Chris? I don't know. I've never been through that. It's like, man, they make you feel awkward, man. Like segregation was tough, wasn't it? Man, I don't know. None of us have been through that, right? And so, man, we got to stop this. Stop this, man. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Till the next time, grace and peace. Yo, grace and peace. Thank you for watching another episode of All Things Theology. If you enjoyed what you heard today, go on and give me a like. Subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell. I promise to give you weekly lives, videos, interactions, exposing false teachers, sharing with you, the viewer, my theological beliefs, things about the culture, and the Bible. So if you're here for that, come on and join us. Also, if you would like to support this channel financially, you can do so by becoming a Patreon member or a YouTube member. Links are in the description below. You can see content before it drops. You can also have Q&A sessions with also other Patreon members, YouTube members as well. So if you would like that, hit the description link in below.